likely meant as tomorrow's assignment, and decided he would do them today. Adding and subtracting kept his mind occupied, and that was good. Lost in his schoolwork, he almost did not notice when the voices of the nuns subsided, but then the momentary silence was broken by the deep, reassuring sound of the church bells, and he knew the Mass had ended. Rising from his chair, he set down his pencil and went to the window to watch the sisters of San Domenico file out, filled with whatever private grace infused them during the Mass said for them each Saturday morning. The nuns emerged in a peaceful stream of black habits and white wimples, of dangling crosses and rosaries wound about fingers, of kindly smiles to one another and conversations barely above a whisper. Sebastiano blinked in surprise when he noticed a break in the parade of sisters. A man was amongst them, dressed in the cassock and surplice any priest might wear at the altar. Of course, it was no surprise that a priest might be amongst the nuns, for wasn't a priest necessary for any Mass? The surprise and curiosity that raised Sebastiano's eyebrows and made him lean on the windowsill for a better look came from the fact that he and the other children at San Domenico's newly christened home for orphans had been told that a new priest would soon arrive to take charge, not only of the church, but of the spiritual education of the orphans. Father Colisanti had died of a heart attack more than a month ago, and since then a number of the priests from local towns had shared the duties that a proper pastor would normally have fulfilled. Sebastiano studied this priest, sure that he had never seen the man before. Young, thin, and dark-complexioned, he wore round spectacles that perched on the bridge of his hawk nose. His black hair was neatly combed, but might need to be cut. It was strange. Normally, Sebastiano felt afraid of priests, for they seemed to him to carry a dreadful power, and when they looked at him, he feared that God could see him through their eyes, and that the Lord would not be happy with what he saw. Sebastiano tried to be a good boy. He wanted to think that if his parents watched him from heaven, they would be proud. Priests often made him want to find somewhere to hide. But this new priest had a nice face. Sebastiano could see even from this distance that he smiled warmly at Sister Teresa as the two walked the path between the church and the orphanage together. The priest seemed comfortable, as if he felt at home. "What do you think, Pagliaccio?" the boy asked. He pulled his gaze from the open window and turned toward the small shelf above his tiny desk, where Pagliaccio lay sprawled on its side, bright red yarn hair dangling over the edge of the shelf along with its arms. Sebastiano frowned and hurried over to rearrange the puppet into a sitting position, arms crossed in its lap. "One of them moved you," the boy thought. The boys who shared his room knew that Pagliaccio was his, and they weren't to touch it. Sister Veronica had warned them after the last time, but apparently one of the other boys had ignored the warning. "Probably Giovanni." He always seemed determined to do precisely the opposite of what the sister told him. Sebastiano made a tutting noise, fussing with the puppet, but unable to arrange it into a position that satisfied him. He picked up Pagliaccio instead and slipped his hand inside the wool sheath of the puppet's body, animating the arms and the head, making its face turn toward him as if responding to his presence. Sebastiano smiled. "That's better, isn't it?" he said. Pagliaccio nodded, then executed a silent bow. Sister Teresa had helped him with the sewing, but he had painted the clown face onto the puppet by himself. The nose seemed too red to him and maybe too large, but mostly he loved Pagliaccio. Now that he had the puppet in hand, his thoughts went back to the young priest, with his beak of a nose and long, skinny arms and legs that added to his bird-like appearance. Sebastiano took the puppet back to the window and bent to peek outside again. He was disappointed to see that most of the nuns had already vanished back to whatever duties awaited them, and the priest